We're back, and that's round one complete in the EFL Championship. Here are 5 hot takes. 1. Laying down the law. Now, you know me and my opinions on the chat around refereeing in football. Yes, they make mistakes. Yes, they could be better. But given the average fan wants literally every 50-50 call to be given in favour of the team they support, the conversation does disappear into emotional tribal nonsense fairly fast. With that being said, you won't be surprised to hear then that I'm very supportive of the changes we saw this weekend with regard to time wasting and dissent. Was it perfect? No, but there are certain things that we just accept as good game management that are just basically cheating. Hopefully we'll soon get a hold on the stoppage time thing. Time wasting has got so annoying and blatant, we're at the point where a stand does need to be taken. Another option is a real-time stop clock, 30-minute halves. Can you imagine the uproar if that were the solution? Fans would feel like they were having football taken away from them when in reality it would actually be being added. And the dissent, surely we can all agree that kicking the ball away to stop a set piece should be a yellow card every time. So I'm all for that. The screaming and swearing from the players and managers has got out of control. I don't think fans will ever respect the official, but the players and the managers should at least try harder not to go over the top. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to begin with, but I'm fully behind the principle and idea of these changes, and I think they'll be a net positive if referees stick to them. 2. QPR collapse. Watford are top of the league after round 1. Well done to the Hornets on a brilliant start. And here comes the big but. The team that they hammered 4-0 are maybe an equal or even bigger part of the story here. I think everyone went into the season a bit worried about QPR. Off pitch, we saw departures in terms of ownership and senior management. On the pitch, it was an atrocious second half of last season and a fairly underwhelming transfer window with trust in manager Gareth Ainsworth, reasonably or not, very low. What QPR needed was a nice solid start, and they got exactly the opposite. They were behind inside a minute and 4-0 down by half-time. Now, I know it's just one game, but immediately inside the dressing room, that lovely clean slate you get at the start of the season will have turned to, here we go again. The Rangers fans in that away end probably lost any optimism, if they had any, for the season before they'd barely taken their seats. And from the outside, many people will understandably double down on their thoughts that the recent chaos at QPR is going to result in them being in or around the bottom 3 throughout this season. I like QPR, I like Ainsworth, but if he wants to convince us that things are going to turn around, well, it's not been a compelling start, has it? 3. Promotion party. What a great start for the promoted League One sides. In the bold predictions video last week, I backed my hunch on Plymouth to win, and they did not disappoint. For those who weren't following League One last season, the general rule of thumb, Argyle at home equals 3 points. We all thought it was vital that Plymouth were going to be able to keep as many of those excellent loanees as they possibly could from last season. And it's absolutely no surprise that the 2 they signed permanently, Whittaker and Mumba, both scored. What a goal by Mumba, by the way. Honestly, I thought Plymouth would be the only ex-League One winners, but Ipswich went to the Stadium of Light to face last year's playoff semi-finalists and an audience of 40,000 and came away with 3 points as well. It was a nervy start for Town, and I'm sure plenty will argue that going in 1-0 up at the break didn't quite reflect the flow of the first half, but Ipswich kicked on, went 2 up, and in the face of a brilliantly spirited fight back with 10 men from Sunderland and a 13-minute stoppage time onslaught, they survived to take all 3 points. There has been so much hype about my lot, some of it justified, some of it a bit ridiculous, but confidence levels aren't going to drop after that winning start. So it was only Sheffield Wednesday of the promoted teams who came a cropper, 2-1 in our watch along on Friday. Let's be fair, Wednesday had the hardest opponents of the 3 in newly relegated Southampton, and they are a couple of weeks behind with their pre-season work given the chaotic managerial situation close season. Wednesday go to Hull next week in a repeat of the 2016 playoff final. That is arguably a generation-altering sliding doors moment. Once they win that game, it would have completely changed the entire path of the past 7 years. Perfect motivation then for the Owls to join Plymouth and Ipswich in getting off the mark with a first win, you would think. 4 great expectations. Stoke and Norwich have both been in the Premier League more recently than the majority of Championship teams, and they both hit winning starts this weekend. In the bold predictions, I backed the influx of Stoke's new faces to come up with 2 goal contributions. So, thank you very much to Andre Vidigal, who scored twice, to allow me to very smugly cash in on that one. I'm always super careful when it comes to Stoke, as I, and I'm sure many of you, have fallen foul of their underachieving during my predictions too many times in recent seasons. Let's just say, new look, new feel, great start. Off they go to my team, Ipswich. Wasn't quite so clear cut for Norwich, who needed to rely on a 96th minute goal to get past Hull 2-1. But if things go well, sometimes you look back at these things and realise they end up being quite big turning points. The mood at Norwich hasn't been great, and all the in-game stats, including a whopping 28 shots, would seem to suggest they were much the better team, so you can understand that sense of frustration building. To get off the mark in such a way might just relieve the pressure from the players and the manager there and allow them a bit of latitude with Norwich fans as they start to build into the new season. 5. The kids are all right. Now, probably the most impressive outcome, performance of the weekend was Millwall's win at Middlesbrough. Cliche alert coming, but absolutely classic Rowett win. Clean sheet, 32% possession, 3 points, bosh. What makes it all the more impressive though is the opponent. I put Borough very high in my 1-24 predictions. They played some beautiful football last season under Michael Carrick. So to go there on day one and get the win, huge bonus for the Lions. The goal came from Romain Esse, a brilliant strike from a brilliant young player, and he was indeed in my 10 youngsters to watch video from pre-season, as was Archie Gray for Leeds, who I was thinking might use him fairly cautiously this season, but new boss Daniel Farke had no issues throwing the 17-year-old Gray straight in from the start as Leeds salvaged a late 2-2 draw against Cardiff. A great start for 2 of my 10 to watch. Why don't you click up here to see who else made the cut in that particular list? You can also click here to see my first in-person matchday vlog of the season 2. I was at the King Power yesterday to see Kiernan Dewsbury Hall star and get Leicester out of trouble and give the Foxes a winning start over Coventry.